Hey there, I'm Savannah and this is Maya.
Hi.
And we are part of Southeastern Louisiana University's Mycology class for fall 2025. And today we are going to be showing you guys how to collect fungi and fungal specimens for the purpose of entering them into an herbarium. So let's get started. So there are a few things that you're gonna want to bring with you. I know you might not have all of these on hand at once, but if you see something in the field and you want to go back and get it, you should definitely bring these things with you. So first of all, you're going to want to bring a bag of some kind to hold your specimen in. So today I brought Ziploc bags. Brown paper bags like sandwich bags also work really well. Tupperware containers, all of those work just fine to hold your specimen in. You're also going to want a voucher slip, which we will have located on the side of the fungal herbarium on the first floor of the biology building. You can take these and we'll show you how to fill these out later, but you're going to want to take a picture of this also with your specimen. Speaking of pictures, you are going to want a camera or a phone. A phone is just fine to take a picture of your specimen and the surrounding area of it. And then you also need a pen, obviously, to be writing on your voucher. And we'll show more about this later, but if you have tinfoil, this is really good for shelf mushrooms that are on trees for getting spores from. So we'll show that later. And the last thing that is really important to have is a pocket knife or some kind of multi-tool that you can use to cut wood or dig things up. So those are the things that you're gonna need, and let's go find some mushrooms.
Alrighty guys, so today we are at Southeastern Sustainability Center, their compost area. This is the area here. And you're likely to find mushrooms in area as such where it's damp and you can find decaying wood. So today we're going to explore this area to see if we can find any mushrooms today.
So we found some mushrooms in the ground. These are your typical mushroom that you would think of. They have a stem on them, which is also called a stipe, a cap, and some gills. And now that we found it and we want to collect it, there's a few things we need to do first. So the first thing you're gonna want to do is take pictures of it from underneath, above, and like the surrounding area that you found it in. The second thing you're gonna want to do is take your voucher and fill it out with the information that is associated with this mushroom. So we'll show you how to fill this out, but I'm going to leave it blank for purposes of this video. So you're also going to want to take a picture of your specimen with the voucher in front of it. You can see on the voucher, we have a ruler in centimeters that is really important to get in the picture. So you lay it down as such and take a photo. You are also going to want to mark down if there's a single mushroom, a few, or many of them. And now that you've got all of your photos, we can go ahead and start actually taking it out of the ground now. So when you're ready to collect your mushrooms, gently brush away any loose leaves or brush that you can see so you can expose as much of it as possible. So now that we've dug up our mushrooms, we can put them in our bag and gently. And like I said, you can use a Ziploc or a brown paper bag or Tupperware, but make sure it's big enough so that they don't get crushed or anything like that, because that'll disturb special structures that one can use to identify what it is, because we don't know exactly what it is yet. You're also going to want to keep your voucher in the bag that you filled out for this mushroom so that you don't mix it up with any other samples. So once we've got that all together, we're going to seal it up
and we're gonna move on to go find some other mushrooms.
Alrighty guys, so we found a different variety of mushroom here. These are going to be your shelf fungi, and they're different from your typical guild mushroom because they're going to contain pores instead of gills. So for this mushroom, I'm going to collect it using this knife here. I'm going to use this to chip away at the wood so that we are able to get all of the structures for identification purposes. Also, I have a voucher here. We're going to use this voucher just as we did before to identify where we got our mushroom from. I got my little pocket knife here that I'm going to use to chip away at this wood so I can get all the structures needed for identification purposes. So I've selected the mushroom that I've decided to collect, and I'm going to go in and pry away at the wood, making sure to be mindful of where I'm placing my fingers. I'm going to dig into this wood here. Alrighty, and this is going to be our first specimen for collection. And as I mentioned earlier, these are different from your typical guild mushroom as these have pores instead of the gills.
Gently move away some of this material so we have a clear surface to look at. And you can see that there are pores underneath the surface instead of gills. So here we have the 3 mushrooms that we collected earlier, and we are going to prepare all of these to go be dried in the oven. But first, we still have our guild mushrooms here that we need to prepare a spore print for. What we're going to do is we're going to remove the stipe from the cap of the mushroom. So I'm going to gently take my knife and go and cut this off. Without disturbing the gills. So now that the stipe is removed, we're going to take the gilled surface and put it face down onto the tin foil. It's okay if all the gilled surfaces are not touching the tin foil. The spores are going to come out from in between the gills. So because this is a fresh specimen, we do expect to see a circular arrangement of spores in a guild-like pattern. So after you place it on your tin foil like this, you're going to take a heavy bowl, jar, or cup of some kind to cover the top of this. Because it's heavy, the pressure that it creates inside will help the spores to drop down from the mushroom. So we're going to keep it just like this. It's okay if it's on an airtight seal. If it's especially wet, you can put a little paper towel to keep it propped up a little to absorb any moisture. But this one shouldn't be too moist. So we're going to keep the jar on for upwards of 4 to 6 hours or overnight to let spores drop from the specimen. Okay.
Alrighty, so we have our paper bags here. We're going to use these to store our mushrooms in and place them in the dryer with these bags here. So I have the student collection ID written on the bag. I also have my name, date, and any notes that I want to make about this particular mushroom before I go ahead and put it in the dryer. And with that, I'm just going to go ahead and place the collected mushrooms into the bags so that we can go ahead and bring them up to the dryer.
So we're in the plant ecology classroom on the 4th floor of the biology building. Here we have one of our drying ovens that's kept at 60 degrees Celsius. We're going to place these bagged specimens in there for 24 to 48 hours to dry out. I'm going to open the dryer, open it up, and I'm going to place them wherever there is room. There. And once we come check on these again in a couple days, they will already be dried and ready to store into the herbarium.
So I'm going to go ahead and lift this jar here, and I'm going to lift our mushroom, and there we have it. That is our spore print, and it is absolutely perfect. This is the mushroom that we collected from, and I'm sure that this mushroom has millions of spores remaining in these gills. So from here, what we're going to do is allow the spore print to air dry. And then from there, we're able to preserve this spore print in the herbarium for others to see. Alrighty guys, so this is the mushroom Savannah and I were able to find. Now today we should see some prints on this aluminum foil here. So what I'll do is go ahead and start to unwrap this package here and see if we were successful. Yes, we were, guys. Look at this. Wow. Now, it wasn't in the typical shape that we would think about when seeing a spore print. However, this is so abundant with spores. We're going to take this back and see what we can see under the microscope.
specimens and you've properly identified them down to the genus or species, you can contact the coordinator of your herbarium to properly document and catalog your specimens, and so that they can be placed in the correct area in the herbarium for future scientists.